Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind. Let's watch. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. If you are a cast member of this show or any of the shows that I watch, keep in mind that I'm just saying things based on an edit of a reality TV show and should not be a replacement for a proper assessment from a clinician, of course. Let's watch.
It's getting pretty intense.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that you know who my other connection is.
Yeah, trust me, it was a total accident. She didn't mean to.
Yeah, so that seems to indicate what I was assuming, which is that when Brittany came back into the lounge and said, I was on a date with Leo, oops, that Hannah didn't know that Brittany was dating Leo or that Leo was dating anybody, right? And then we saw that Hannah immediately regretted breaking up with Nick and pulled him back into the pods. In Leo's typical fashion, he's bringing up the elephant in the room, which I can see the impulse, but I don't know if it's the best thing to do. We're also seeing Hannah's reaction to that elephant in the room, that she's much more light about it than the way that Brittany was. When the elephant was talked about with Brittany, it really was scary for her, viscerally scary and worrisome to her, which points in the direction that Brittany is very much invested and very much likes Leo, right? Whereas for Hannah, she's like, yeah, whatever. At least initially. Let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that you know who my other connection is.
Yeah, trust me, it was a total accident. She didn't mean to.
Inevitably, y'all, we're going to find out. I don't know. It's freaking tough. Like I have such a strong connection with you.
Yeah.
It's like, I'd be lying if I said I didn't also have a really strong connection with her.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you see the contrast of reactions. Hannah is taking it really well. Now, maybe she has a lot of feelings, or she is more realistic. She has been more realistic up until this point. She's already dealt with the feelings that accompany the acknowledgement that the love of your life is dating someone else. Or what? I don't know.
both of y'all are amazing. And I would think that if I was in this position right now,
Yeah.
I would be like, oh man, Leo, look at you. You dog. You play it like that. I don't feel like that at all. It's tough because I want to explore both of them to the end.
That's what this is for. That's what you're supposed to do, is you're supposed to figure it out.
Yeah, I think that is either an unspoken rule or guideline, or it is literally told to them that, and I think it might be told or suggested that they wait until the end to propose, right? The final day, the 10th day. I don't know if this season had 10 days. I have yet to talk with my contact who actually worked on this season, but she would say about past seasons is the pods are 10 days. So the proposals happen on the 10th day. All the proposals, from my understanding, typically or always happen on the 10th day, even though they might edit it to make it look differently than that. But anyway, so we're hearing that he's saying, I want to wait until the end. And she's like, yeah, it's totally fine. She seems very casual about that, which I don't know what that says, but if I were Leo, that would tell me something. It would. I would say, well, I'm glad that Hannah isn't having a lot of hurt or worry or sadness feelings, because that would hurt me to feel like I'm doing that to someone. But wait a second. Hannah was totally cool with this scenario, whereas Brittany was really worried, which I would be too if I were in her shoes. I don't want Brittany to be worried, but what does that say? But maybe it doesn't say anything.
You're really understanding of this.
Yeah. We gotta figure out everything about each other if we're gonna potentially get married, you know?
I'll never figure out everything about you. That's one thing that I
Or Brittany is less realistic and fell in love too quickly, or had a semi-delusional thought that since she was connecting with Leo, then there's no way that he's dating anyone else, and Hannah is just more acknowledging of the scenario. I don't know.
Sounds like a good life.
So when are you asking me to be your girlfriend?
Taylor, would you be my girlfriend?
No.
No?
You have 2 hours to convince me.
If I haven't convinced you by now.
Okay, I figured she was joking, but it seems like she isn't joking. But I guess 2 hours if they're on this date. So, but I don't think you should joke about that. You asked him. She asked him, when are you going to ask me to be your girlfriend? So he goes for it, and then she's like, no. I thought she'd immediately say yes, of course, or something. So I don't know what that says. Yeah, I don't know what that even if she says yes after a couple hours, it's like a prank, right? She played a prank. I think there are things you should not prank about. Sort of like how I am terrible at pranks. I learned that in high school on April Fools when I was coming upstairs to get ready to go to school that day on April 1st, and I told my mom, so I have to tell you something. My girlfriend is pregnant. And my mom, and the look on her face, and I was like, April Fools. I said it very quickly, just within a second and a half. And she was like, I thought, I'm never doing April Fools again, and I never have. I'm terrible at it, and it's not worth it. I don't want to put people through that. I don't want to be a sort, and I don't like being pranked, and therefore, I don't live in that space. If you do, that's great. I think it can, for the few seconds or however long it is that you are in that space of the prank working, you can do damage. Even if later you say, it's April Fool's. Neurons don't necessarily completely reorient themselves to the new reality, right? You're experiencing something and you're emotionally encoding and associating, and just because April Fool's happens doesn't mean that all that is erased, right? So a prank like this could give him some hesitation, some worry about vulnerability in the future, which, you don't want to play around with that kind of stuff.
Obviously during the day, and then I read for a little bit and then went to bed.
Wait. I was literally about to say I read for a little bit and then I went to bed.
Twinsies,
What
okay.
are you reading?
I'm reading like this kind of nerdy book. It's like a fantasy thing.
Did we talk about this?
No.
What? I read fantasy, that's all I read.
Oh, really?
So have you read like Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we're halfway through episode 2, and we are just meeting someone for the first time. I don't even think I've ever seen this guy before. Bowden is his name. We learned very quickly that he was born in Ukraine, emigrated age 2, dad died soon after, stepdad is Filipino, and he really loves his stepdad who raised him. And he said that he is mistaken for a vapid frat boy, but he actually has depth. And he says that he is reading a fantasy book, a nerdy fantasy book. Also, Marissa, we have seen her around. She's been talking with other people. And what I have observed about her is that she has a very peppy personality. She laughs and smiles big, and that's nice.
Moving away from Christianity and just religion in general. And we tried to figure things out, but ultimately it didn't work out for us. And so...
Do you still talk to your ex?
No. I can be so empathetic, but then with myself, I'm just terrible in terms of how I critique myself.
Okay.
I never feel like it's enough. And I think it comes from my dad was just very critical. I felt like whatever I did was never good enough for him.
Okay, so we have seen Ramsey's a bit up until this point, but we are now seeing him in the pods for the first time, and he is dating Marissa, who is also dating Bowden. And we just learned a lot. Ramsey's said that he grew up in a very religious family. I was taking notes. And that he got married to his high school sweetheart. And the two of them were in this very religious family situation, and then he was married for 4 years, got divorced, moved away from his religion. He doesn't talk to his ex-wife, and now he's saying that he's very critical of himself because his dad was very critical.
I think that was like something that sort of like just kind of creeped into like my adulthood.
Yeah. When
Oh, and another thing, Ramsey's told her, Marissa, that he is only dating her and has her as his number one, basically. And Marissa said that she is dating two different people. The way that they're talking, it sounds like it must be earlier on in the week, in the 10 days, because if it was later on, I think they would have more energy around that reality. And he has not my, but the same sandals that I always wear, or slides. I don't know what people call them, soccer sandals. I, like a proper old or middle-aged Asian guy, have socks on like him. I have socks on with my slides. You can just visualize that.
my parents divorced, my dad left and didn't help at all. And it was just my mom with us 4 kids. And so
Yeah.
Okay, so we're learning a bit about her history.
lean away from that. I think that's so attractive.
Yeah, I just don't really care to try to follow traditional expectations of what masculinity should look like. It's masculinity is what I make it.
I absolutely.
Yeah, it's good. Good to hear. Good to hear. Yeah, I mean, well, we don't know. I haven't seen much of Ramsey's up to this point. They're introducing a lot of new characters. It's almost like the first episode was only focused on a handful of people, and now we're getting a whole new batch.
This is incredible.
Yeah, I was wondering if she would be taller than him. Not that it matters really, but she is a basketball player, and you just never know until you're in the hallway. During the UK season 1, there was a lot of shockers where the dude looked like a giant and the women looked very, very short. And then you'd see him in the hallway. You're like, oh my, because you just never see that compared. Not that it matters, but it's interesting. So I will say that there was a lot of talk before the opening of the doors in the hallway focused on her unknown ethnicity. And on one hand, yeah, that's a thing. But it's a bummer that in 2024 we're still talking about that. It just is unfortunate that it's such a focus. Who knows how they feel? I mean, I'm going to take a guess and say that it's a non-issue for the two of them, but for the narrative and for the questions that are asked or the edit that is left in, it's just it comes across like it's a big question mark. Is he going to reject her because she's half Asian? It just seems like, what? Are we still living in that world? Unfortunately, we are.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'9".
Okay.
How tall are you?
6.
6 foot?
Yeah. Like right at. Don't know what you like. We'll get a measure tape.
Look at him.
That's Stacy and me. Our heights are that. Stacy's 5'9". I'm 6'1", 6 foot. Older I get, I come down a little bit as my body starts to compress.
I don't know. I don't want to tell you information that you don't want to know.
At this point, I want information, so just fucking tell me.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Okay. Hannah's 5'9".
What?
Hannah's 5'9". Okay. 5'8".
Right.
I said I was okay with that. She cut me out. Describe to me the kind of girl you want by your side for the rest of your life.
All right, so this other cast member is telling Leo about having dated Hannah. This other guy said that Hannah was his number one, and that when this other guy told Hannah that he was 5'8", and she said she was 5'9", that Hannah cut him out. Now, we don't know. Maybe Hannah decided to weed out people for other reasons, or that's a weird way to put it, but you know what I'm saying. So that's how he's interpreting it. But, could be. Some people have those deal breakers, and it's not usually recommended that you have a deal breaker like that, because what if the one happens to be an inch shorter than you, but whatever. All right, well, let's adjourn there. I want to give a shout out to the YouTube members who have been a YouTube member for the longest period of time. We have Ginger and Rosie and Fema, good old Fema, and Studerk and Allison and good old Stella Annie, Brittany and MCK, Alehu, good old Alehu, Tessa, SRM 808, and Emily. Thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member right at the very beginning, and you are still a YouTube member, so thank you so much. Being a YouTube member means that you are supporting what we're doing here. It makes me feel good emotionally, but also it makes it so that I don't have to work other jobs to pay my bills. I can make content like this. So if you want this kind of content or you want to support it, you can become a member by clicking the join button below, or there should be a URL if you don't see the join button. It really, really means a lot to me and everyone out there, regardless of whether you're a patron or a member or whatever. Please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.